tough times don't last, tough people do. That saying, I think, when you go through those tough times, you really find out a lot about yourself, and you go through adversity, and it makes you stronger in the long run. And, I think that relates a lot to our team now, to where I think, they went through a tough time last year, but they don't want to go through that again. So I think everybody's ready to work and is committed to turning this around.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Welcome to episode 4 of our 5-part Who is Dan Morgan series. We just wrapped with Aaron Duncan over at Unnecessarily Bluntness Sports Talk YouTube. He does an amazing job. We went in the time machine all the way back to May 8th, 2021, where we were able to see how people reacted to the Dan Morgan hiring as assistant GM at the time under Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule. Obviously, there was so much that we wanted to happen. We were sold a crazy bill of goods, but now Scott Fitterer's gone. Oh, there's so many more gone. Matt Rule, Chris Tabor, Frank Reich even. So much has happened since then. So we're jumping to his first look press conference, courtesy of the Panthers YouTube. Let's jump into it.
Anish Shroff here with Panthers new GM, recently promoted, Dan Morgan. And Dan, I want to go back to the beginning of your journey starting as a player, because you as a player know what this past season was like. Describe your rookie season with Carolina.
Yeah, it was challenging. Not only being a rookie and first time in the NFL, feeling the NFL out, and to come in and win your first game and think you may actually have a good football team, and then to lose 15 straight was really challenging. And I told our guys this year, I said, hey, like, I've been through this. It can turn around quickly, because we were 1-15 in 2001, and in 2003 we were in a Super Bowl. So this thing could.
Man, if Dan Morgan turns this roster into a Super Bowl roster and somehow clones himself and Peppers, I think we can win. We can actually win it this time. Oh, it's going to be a beautiful mountaintop one day, guys. We're going to get to that mountaintop one day.
Turn around quick. We just got to do it the right way.
In terms of perspective, that experience, what perspective does that give you?
I think it's one of those things where, tough times don't last, tough people do. That saying, I think, when you go through those tough times, you really find out a lot about yourself, and you go through adversity, and it makes you stronger in the long run. And, I think that relates a lot to our team now, to where I think, they went through a tough time last year, but they don't want to go through that again. So I think everybody's ready to work and is committed to turning this around.
Fast forward to the end of your career. How does eye black, neck roll Dan Morgan make the transition to what you are now? What was that process like when your playing career ended?
Well, if you've been a part of this, and we're on episode 4, only one more after this, which will be the Dan Morgan, Dave Canales joint first presser together. You've seen him. You've seen him go through college. You've seen him talk about his transition to the NFL, being given an opportunity, and really capitalizing on that. Dan Morgan in Buffalo was a completely different person than Dan Morgan that left football behind as a player, and the Dan Morgan that we're getting as a GM is completely different than the Dan Morgan that was there in Buffalo, drafting Ed freaking Oliver and getting him over there. So just, it's going to take some time. He's a completely different person, and I'm super excited to see who that person is and how much love and care he's going to put into this for us, because it's going to pay off dividends for him. It's going to pay off dividends for us. We're all in this together. Keep pounding everybody out there.
Yeah, I didn't know that I wanted to do this when I got done playing. I had an opportunity from an ex-scout for the Panthers who was in Seattle at the time, and he said, hey, I always thought you'd be a really good scout. You had a good eye for talent, and I love talking to you. I didn't know that I wanted to do this. And a matter of fact, I wasn't even going to get on the plane to go do the internship that I did, but decided to go out there, and I loved it. And 14 years later, I'm sitting here and the GM of the Carolina Panthers.
What did you like about scouting initially?
Initially, I think it's really just putting a team together, identifying talent, putting a bunch of different personalities together.
And to be honest, I think he's more able to handle this specific position as well, being GM of the Panthers, meddling owner and everything like that, because he does have a backbone. That's where I think the Scott Fitterer really lost me. As everybody continues to grow up, you want people around you to have a backbone. You want them to be able to stand up for themselves. And when people can't do that, and you're seeing something odd, like you're taking the wrong players constantly when you had a better draft, acumen previously, is a bit frustrating, especially as a fan. So I'm really hoping that Dan Morgan, more than anything, brings a spine and is able to tell David Tepper to buzz off, essentially, because that's not what he needs to be involved in. You need to let the football people take care of football. I'm 100% a believer that just because you're a billionaire doesn't make you good at everything, obviously. But some billionaires truly believe that, because I'm the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, I should be making personnel decisions because I'm a fan. No, there's people that have devoted their entire lives, and regardless of how long you've been in it, you're not as good as them. Simple.
It's a cool thing. You got a lot of different guys from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different areas. And to, bring those guys together and bring that team together and kind of like put the pieces of the puzzle together and, see that vision through, I think that's the coolest part.
When you initially got to Seattle, give us your first impression of their wide receivers coach.
He was pretty energetic.
Just so you know, if you watched our Who Was Dan Morgan series, the wide receiver coach in Seattle at the time was our now head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales. So
he's always had a lot of energy, really smart. He had a really tough receiving room to deal with. He had a lot of competitors, scrappy competitors. Doug Baldwin, Golden Tate was there, Jermaine Kearse. So we had a lot of guys, that had a little bit of edge, and Dave did such a good job with those guys. He's such a technician. He's smart with like every little detail. I'm happy he's here now, let's put it that way.
Yeah, Dave Canales was the Seattle wide receivers coach, now the Panthers head coach, and we'll get back to that. But at that point, you're both early in your coaching careers, you as a scout in the front office, he as a coach. What sort of relationship developed?
Yeah, so ironically enough, our offices were right next to each other.
Not right next to. If you watched our our Dan Canales breakdown, they said they were 2 offices away from each other. So he's fibbing a little bit here.
So who would have thought, 14 years later that me and him would be here together. So we kind of grew up together. We were interns together. We kind of went up the ranks together. So, for that to happen, I could always tell he was going to be good. And I think he would probably say the same about me. We worked our butts off. We were at the office early in the morning till late at night.
Yeah, remember, they had to kick him out. Dan Morgan, go the hell home.
And we love doing what we do. So I'm just happy that I'm here with him now.
You guys were in Seattle at the height of that franchise's success. When you look back from a front office standpoint, what were some of the elements that made it so successful?
I think it really has to do with everybody on the same page, everybody's aligned in the building, everybody communicates really well, and the vision's really clear.
See, that's the one. The vision has to be clear. And the vision being clear is how we achieve great things. Not having the owner involved makes things clear.
Pete Carroll did such a good job of casting a vision of what he wanted, not only from a culture standpoint, but from a player standpoint. Hey, these are the type of body types we want. These are the type of character guys we want. We want guys with grit. We want guys that are tough, and everybody knew what we wanted. So from a scouting standpoint, it was easy to go out and evaluate that talent and be like, okay, this guy fits what a Seattle Seahawk wants. And, that's something that we're going to carry here.
Let's fast forward present day, Carolina Panthers. For the doubters, for the skeptics who say, hey, coming off a 2-15 season, it would have been easy to go get somebody and put fresh eyes on this thing. What's your message to that chorus?
I think it's one of those things where, listen, as a player, I feel like I went out there, I gave it my all, played at a high level.
He really did, man. Again, if Aaron wants to hop on and we'll do did Dan Morgan really eclipse 20 tackles in a Super Bowl? I want to do that. But this man is no joke. I need that grit in the front office. I need it against other GMs and against other franchises. get the most value for whatever we're trying to do, this man's going to do it.
I worked my way up the scouting ranks and, you know, put the work in, and I learned under a bunch of good people, John Schneider out in Seattle, Joe Shane, who's the Giants GM now, Brandon Bean, who's the Bills GM. I learned under a lot of really good people, so I think I'm well equipped to, you know, take this team to the next level.
A couple more things, Dan. You spoke of alignment. In this role now, what does alignment in this organization look like?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, really between the front office, between the other side of the building, which the corporate side, and then the players. Just all of us being aligned, knowing where we are, knowing what the vision is, and kind of seeing that vision through.
What is the vision, the mission statement, the core goal, if you will?
Yeah, I think it's really about, you know, Dave will say it all the time, like, we got to protect the ball. We got to take the ball away, and we got to protect the ball on offense.
Yep. In fact, he has a great thing that if you are +1 in turnovers, you have an 80-something% chance of winning on average. So that's going to be a big point of contention and something we haven't seen so far from Bryce. Obviously, first year, 2,800 total yards passing, of course, on 12 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and of course, some lost fumbles. So we need to get to a place where we can be positive in the turnover department and not a place where it's losing us games on a regular basis. So that's another part of Dave Canales' offense that I love, and that's something that I love that Dan Morgan also wants. We need to protect the ball, protect the bank, protect Bryce Young.
And I know that's Dave's big philosophy is really it's all about the ball. So right now that's kind of what we're looking for from the draft and free agency perspective.
Oh, we're excited.
Yeah.
Dan Morgan,
Thanks,
you.
man.
A shout out to the Panthers. Shout out to Dan Morgan for not only just coming back to Carolina, giving David Tepper another chance. He was obviously a part of the regime with Fitterer, with Frank Reich and all that. So he understood what was happening behind the scenes and still decided to take the job, decided to stay in-house and try and rehabilitate the Carolina Panthers. So for that, I'm forever thankful. If you want more breakdowns, reactions, or more, make sure to subscribe to the socials below. We're also on all the podcasting platforms now, so shout out over there. Make sure you go subscribe to us. My name is Nick. This has been Real Coverage. I appreciate y'all rolling with us, and I hope to see you again soon. Peace.